Happy Wednesday, everybody.
Hello.
Hi, Krista. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Hey, how's the weather down by you?
Hot.
Hot.
AC's on.
All right. We got another 4 inches of snow today.
Seriously?
This sucks.
Sorry.
Hey, we lost Deweese. Where'd she go?
I don't know.
All right. Anyway, guys, welcome and thank you for joining our show tonight. We've got an awesome guest tonight, and she is based right now currently out of Houston, Texas. And she's originally from Rome, Italy, and she's got quite a story to tell. And as you could see from the intro, she's doing a lot of crazy stuff and pretty exciting stuff, and she can't wait to talk about it. And also, she's intrigued by paramotoring. So let's welcome Priscilla. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks
Nice
for
to meet you.
joining.
Hello? I'm sorry?
And thank you for joining. And we got Deweese back.
There you go. Thank
All
you
right.
for having me on the show. This is great. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you, Jade.
Yeah. So you're in Houston. What are you doing in Houston?
So I'm in Houston currently for work. I am an ER nurse. I'm currently working out here. And I'm going to be here for at least another year, solid year here.
Okay.
Fortunately, it is one of the flattest lands I've ever lived in, terrain I've ever lived. But as of right now, I'm really happy because I can still practice the other sports that I'm usually practice. So
All right.
there's a great place to jump. I also do skydiving. I mean speed flying mainly, and base jumping. Of course, right now we don't have the mountains, like I said, so I'm focusing mostly on the wingsuiting out of the airplanes.
Okay. So tell us, we have not had a speed flyer on our show yet. So tell us a little bit about that sport.
Okay, so speed flying is the sister sport of paragliding. So I did start as a paraglider, but the speed flying uses smaller wings, so smaller sizes wings. Like for example, right now I fly a 9 meter. I did
Pillowcase.
start, yes, I did start when I started the paragliding as a paragliding student. I was using an A wing, and I believe it was a 24 meter, a 22 or 24 meter. So you see the difference in the size of the wing. And also, we used the harness that we use does not have an airbag. Traditionally, in the paragliding, in the paragliding, you would want a big harness where you can't sit comfortably, stay up in the air for hours, and you do have an airbag and also a reserve, because if you are a very skilled pilot, you can actually gain a lot of altitude by thermaling, which is using thermal currents of air and just stay in altitude as long as you can. Well, the speed flying uses smaller wings and does not plan to be in the air that long. Actually, we plan to descend as fast as we can and try to be in close proximity with the ground. So our harness does not have an airbag, and mostly you don't use a reserve. Although some speed flyers do carry a reserve. It's called the front mount reserve. If you're in different, like in a glacier environment or somewhere where you are very up high, you want to have a reserve.
Right.
But most speed flyers use, I would say, an average, depending on your weight and what you want to do with the wing and your skill level, I would say from a 13 meter down to a 5.5 meter, which is literally like a piece of cloth, like really, really small. But that's reserved only for like extremely skilled and usually sponsored athletes in the speed flying. So the main differences, to recap, are the wing size and the harness and the terrain, like staying close to the terrain and then going at really fast speeds.
Okay. Wow.
Yes.
All right. So, Krista or Luis, do you have any questions for this gal?
I do.
Okay.
So you said you fly fast and close to the ground. About how far up do you fly to the ground?
Well, I personally don't fly really, really close to the ground if I don't if there's no like a terrain where I feel comfortable. Most people do fly almost touching trees with their feet and skimming the ground. Honestly, I've seen people maybe 3 feet. That's how close I've seen. The most skilled pilots and sponsor athletes that I've been in contact with, I've seen them just even closer than that, and they're very agile, they move very quick, and they have, of course, they have gained those abilities through the years, through a lot of training, a lot of dedication, and a lot of just self-development and doing the right, using the right resources, and of course having the right people with them to coach them. Some people, it's still a very, very young sport, so a lot of things also we do find out on our own. There's no coach that can tell you, hey, you should, fly closer, do this better, do this. They can kind of give you some pointers, but a lot of things also are we just mentor each other, and so if you don't feel comfortable, of course, going that close, don't do it. You don't have to have fun with the speed flying. That's what I'm trying to convey. So
yeah, got it.
You can go even higher, especially if you're in a explorative. Like sometimes I don't know. It's a new launch. It's a new mountain. It's a new line. Nobody has ever flown that. There's not really a lot of information about it. So what do you want to do? Just like paragliding, you're gonna do a high flight. There are trims so that make your wing, the angle of attack, steeper or flatter. So you just want to stay flat and glide as much as you can. Just look at your line, look at the terrain. There might be boulders there, the trees height might change, and you just want to make sure. So you do explorative flights, and you can fly high. You can stay up high if you do it right.
Awesome. Thank you.
So, according to your Facebook page, you did a speed flying tour in 2021. Where did that tour take place, and how long was it?
So traditionally in 2021, well, every year in August, it's quite a few. Now it's growing. So it was a fewer pilots. Now it's growing. There is a speed flying meet in Les Des Alpes in France. And it's, like I said, because the sport is growing. At first we had a fewer pilots. Now it's growing. So it's, to answer your question, it's a very important event for the speed flying community. A lot of pilots come from all over the world, and you see people from all of the cultures, Americans, Italians, and Europeans. Everybody's coming together and sharing the passion for flying the smaller wings. So to answer your question, I was in France, in Les Des Alpes.
All right. Wendy, the explorer, she flies a trike also, and she's asking, is speed flying what we saw on YouTube with the Red Bull, and somebody was going through the tunnels down around ski resorts, skimming their feet off of the hot tubs?
Yes. I believe, well, there's so many different videos. I don't know exactly which video they're referring at, but yes, the speed actually, if you are looking at this, at the small wing, at the speed wing, and somebody launching with skis, that is called the speed riding. So most of speed flyers are also speed riders. and many pilots in the speed flying community actually start with the speed riding because there's snow. So if you're not launching correctly and you tumble, you do something, you go in the fresh snow. And I always recommend start with the paragliding, always, and then downsize your wing smaller and smaller and smaller. But some people, they like to do a lot of the speed riding, start with the speed riding. So you see a lot of videos of people with the skis and the mini wings and the small wings. So what they probably saw is a person speed riding. I don't know exactly who, but there is a sponsor athlete. I know him personally, very extremely skilled. He's probably the best pilot in the world. And that's probably what they saw. He's a sponsor athlete, and he didn't get there overnight. So never think, as in the paramotoring, you don't get there overnight. This person is extremely skilled, trains every day, and he does do he skims things with the skis and the feet.
So
Very
I
effectively.
I
Yes.
can't grab my downhill skis in Wisconsin and the another 4 inches of snow we got, or my snowboard and just grab my wing.
I
Nice
would
knowing ya.
always, you could do it, not a problem. I would always recommend to always start with a coach. Now, in France and Europe, there are courses you can take and focus just on that, on the speed riding. You can take your wing, and you can go there, or they can start you off there. If you have a paragliding or any wing experience, always get in contact with the appropriate coach. There's tons of resources out there, and you can do that safely. Of course, our goal is always, I believe also in the paramotoring, you're not going fishing, guys. Nothing wrong with fishing, or something more tranquil of a hobby, but we are always higher risk activities. So of course, you not eliminate those risks, but you can definitely minimize them, and definitely getting in contact with the right coaches and mentors can definitely help you minimize those risks.
All right, Krista.
We've got Fox Paramotor Girl, and she says, how many people are involved in this sport in the world?
Not a lot, honestly. I don't know, because like I was saying, we don't have an association per se. In the U.S., we are under the umbrella of the United States Parachuting and Hang Gliding Association. But in the rest of the world, I would say we're still very young, maybe 10,000 people at the most, combined with the speed flying and speed riding. I would say at the most, maybe less.
Okay.
Have you always been a daredevil, and how did you start? Angela from Las Vegas wants to know.
Okay, thank you for the question. So, how I've always been a daredevil? Yes. I always sought unusual activities for women. Okay, of course, growing up in Italy, I love my native country. But unfortunately, in Italy, women are not encouraged to seek hobbies that are directly related to men. For example, I started driving a motorcycle at a young age. Now, you probably have seen pictures of Italy, people driving mopeds and whatnot. And there are actually motorcycles shaped, like mopeds shaped as motorcycle. The CCs is like a very small engine CC. So I started with the motorcycle at a very young age, and then I had a scooter, and then Vespas, and I liked the speed, and I was very interested in flying. And at that time, unfortunately, women were not you cannot become a pilot. So I grew up in the 80s and 90s. And unfortunately, my brother got into a high school where their major was becoming, at the end, you become a pilot. You get your PPL, your private pilot license, and only men were accepted in that school. And I wanted to go to that school so badly. So that happened when I was growing up. I was going in the countryside with my grandfather. He was from a region in Italy that is all country. And we would see people flying the airplane, like really small Cessnas. And adjacent to the airport, there was a drop zone. So the drop zone is where people jump from airplanes with their parachutes. So I would see all the, not only people flying the Cessnas, and there was a pilot school, there was also a drop zone. So I would see people landing their parachute, and I was so excited. I'm like, oh man, I really want to do that one day. And my grandpa was very encouraging. He was very encouraging, and he actually asked my parents, you should enroll her as well in a private pilot school. And my parents, they were very conservative. They're very conservative. Now they're a little better. They see me doing all this stuff, and they see their women are getting more and more involved into the extreme sports and this kind of activity. So they're understanding. But back in the days, they're trying to bring, raise the daughter in a more conservative way, and you were not allowed to really pursue those activities. So as I was mentioning before, women became pilots in Italy very late, I think in the years of 2000 or so, whereas other cultures, other countries had women pilot like already from the 70s, probably in the 80s. So to answer the question, I've always been a daredevil. I always wanted to fly. I like the speed and flying. And finally, I'm like, Italy, unfortunately, at the time when I was growing up, was not representing who I wanted to be. And I saw all these videos from the United States, and the base jumping already was growing and all these sports. And I'm like, yeah, it looks like United States, they really support sports in general and women. So I went to the university. I went to study at 19 years old. I enrolled in the university. I swam in the university in the United States, and I was able to make my way through college. And the more I was, the more I was working hard, the more I was getting supported. So in the United States, I found my new home and the place where I was really getting that support. Eventually, I got a stable job. Of course, we know that these activities are quite expensive. I can't even imagine about the paramotoring. But once you have your own equipment, you can train really hard. So I had money. I started having a little bit of money. And then I started I'm like, finally, I can get into the skydiving. And I started training skydiving. And I see a lot of women, a lot of support. And then I got more interested in the speed flying, because that's what I really wanted to do. Actually, the wingsuiting and the speed flying. And slowly I got connected with people. I was in the skydiving community, the paragliding community, and I just asking questions, staying involved, asking the different mentors, hey, how do I get there? Hey, how do you get to the speed flying? And you meet the right people, and they know how to connect you with the mentors. And slowly I made my way through, and it's been quite challenging because, again, yes, we're in America, but they're very unusual activities, and a lot of these activities are newer and they're still growing. So that's how basically I got involved, just being active in these communities and connecting with people, connecting with other women, and looking at other women, how they were doing, and asking questions. So
Hot Buttered Steve has got a question. Have you flown with Steve Mayer before?
Steve Mayer? No, I have not. I'm sorry. I did not. I have not. But I have flown with other people. I've met people who have been in the sports, in the speed flying community, the paragliding community for a long time, sponsor athletes, and all these people are just they're people to look up to, because they became someone, and they became someone not overnight. They train really hard, and all of these famous, and they became famous for a reason, because they really put their heart. That's all they did all their life, and they're dedicating their life to make our sports grow. Unfortunately, I did not fly with that specific person, but I did fly with other people who are dedicating their entire lives to the speed flying, the wingsuiting, the skydiving, and the paragliding communities and sports.
All right. Krista?
Will Fly says, what is the biggest thing left to tackle on your bucket list if you have one?
Okay. Well, there's so many that don't believe that once, I mean, you jump off the mountain and that's it. No. Well, that's what I thought. I'm like, I want to make one jump out of the mountain, off the mountain, or I want to speed fly this particular mountain and I'm done. No, because after that, a whole new goal presents to you, and I'm sure you have probably experienced that in the paramotoring. You're like, oh, I just wanna fly one time and see how the paramotor works and if I'm able to do it. And after that, you get so excited, and all this range of opportunities open up to you, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna fly here. I want to fly in this part of the world. So to answer the question, there are so many other parts of the world that I really want to fly in the speed flying. For example, definitely there's, I mean, so many parts of the Alps that have been unexplored. There's a region in Italy between Veneto and Friuli, so that's kind of going towards Venice area, and the area is still very unexplored. And I just drove there, and I can just look up and see like 10 different lines, 10 different new lines to fly, of course. So specifically, there's a mountain there that I really want to fly. I have not gone flying yet. That mount is called Mount, I believe, Mount Cervia, and I have not flown it. For example, there's there's mountain that I would like to wingsuit off of that I never flown, like the Mount Eiger. It's huge. It's in Switzerland, and you don't have to fly with your wingsuit off of it, but it's probably most memorable if you do. It's very, very high mountain glacier. It's a very hard, I would say, hike. If you're not in shape and if you're not prepared mentally, it can be a really hard hike. And definitely it's something that I have not trained for yet. So that's for sure one of the biggest aspiration in the base jumping for in wingsuiting, for example. Yes.
So you have lots of things in your bucket list.
I do, and you know how it is when you start flying. You think you've flown it all, but you don't. You really don't.
Yeah. Eric PPG Lear wants to know if your boyfriend flies with you, and do you fly together?
Absolutely. So that's actually how we met. So going back to that speed flying meet that we talked about in Les Des Alpes in France, we met there a few years ago, randomly. Of course, there was only like 3 women and 200 males or something like that, about 100 pilot males. So I'm there and I'm by myself, and I see this guy, and he's all happy, just landed from a flight, and I just arrived, and this all energy, so many talented people, and you're trying to meet everyone, and I see him landing, and I'm like, oh, that was quite a nice landing, and I'm getting all excited, and that's how we started. We met each other, and yes, we do fly together. We base jump. We all the extreme sports we're doing together. He's actually very skilled pilot, especially in the speed riding and speed flying. He has an 8-meter, and that's for his weight and size, it's quite challenging. But yes, we do everything together in the sport. But the good thing is, sometimes, hey, you want to go with your friend? See you. I'm going to fly the other line with, which, by the way, I'm dreaming of having all girls team with the speed flying and paragliding. That would be awesome. So
Paramotoring.
paramotoring also,
Paramotor.
but for me, yes, because I don't do paramotor, so I'm always like, oh, I wonder if we can do a speed flying or at least a mini wing, you know. But unfortunately, we're still young in the sport, and women, there's not a lot of speed flying. There's more speed riders, so skiers, women, which is great. There's some strong speed riders, women, and they're amazing. So anyways, to let you know, we do everything together, but sometimes, hey, you can go fly that line, I'm just going here, see you later, you know. I want to do my own thing, and I think that's kind of healthy. There's also the skill level that you have to keep in mind. Sometimes he's just really skilled and I'm not able to follow his line, so I'm just gonna do something better, more appropriate for myself, and not actually, there's some launches, oh my gosh. One time I found myself on a launch where it's just rocks. It's basically a base jump with your wings open behind you, and I'm like, I'm not speed flying off of this thing. I see you later. I see nice grassy areas down in that part of the mountain. I'm going there. See you. Have fun. And I saw them later. You know, I saw the group later, and I flew my own line, my own thing. So that's to answer the question.
So the pickup line is, hey, that's a nice landing.
No, it's like, hey, that's a very small wing.
Oh. All right.
Oh Lord.
All right. So Mark McElroy.
I'm sorry.
Mark McElroy is asking from Paralife PPG, how many jumps do you have? So jumps off of a cliff of a mountain or out of an airplane? So tell us all.
Okay, so now, because we just wanna make I want to explain the difference between the jumping. So jumping at a drop zone in an airport, you're jumping off on an airplane. That's the skydiving, which you can do also with a wingsuit. In that sport, I have about 700 jumps, not a lot. There's people with thousands. Some of those women I really look up to, and people and mentors that I look up to, they have like 10,000, 12,000 skydives. So for me, in the 700, in terms of base jumping, which is the sister sport to the skydiving, but you're jumping off of a fixed object, which mostly the mountains, I do have about 250 jumps, and it's not a lot. It's not a lot. So they're important numbers, but when you look at the sponsor athletes or other strong women in these sports, there's women with thousands of jumps, and for me, I just all I can do is continue to train as much as I can. And it's not, a lot of times we don't want to talk about only jump numbers, because the number of jumps, because then people think, oh well, I have 300 jumps, I can do this and that. It's the quality. You might have fewer jumps, but you're very skilled, you're very naturally inclined to the sport, and you're maybe picking up faster than other people. Your abilities are much better than mine. So we always want to talk about the quality of jumps, and how hard you're training. So just to answer the question, those are my numbers.
Right.
Anyways.
Nice. Krista. You're on mute, I think. Hang on. You're unmuted. No, you got to unmute.
Sorry. Wendy, the explorer, said, what is your biggest fear? Since you seem to be fearless in all the style sports you are into?
Okay, biggest fear is seeing 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 my friends get hurt, which unfortunately has happened. I had to respond as a nurse. I had to respond as a friend, of course. I had to respond to critical situations where the launch did not go well or the landing did not go well. And that has happened. And at first, you have kind of like an idea of, geez, I don't want, because myself, I'm responsible for myself. Something happens to me, that fear, that's mine, that's my personal, it's mostly on other people. I don't want to see my friends in those situations because at first, like I was saying, you kind of have an idea of it and you're like, yeah, that's a possibility, but then it really happens. And it's very unfortunate. And unfortunately, I had a couple of very, very critical situation. I do tend to respond no matter where I'm in the mountains. Sometimes there's different launching spots, and if I saw something happens or I hear somebody on the radio or somebody's calling for help or something just doesn't look right, I just go. I try to make my way as safe as possible. I don't care about flying, of course. I just make my way and try to assess the situation. And what the biggest fear is, to answer the question, is finding the person not moving or unconscious and in a very remote area, which is probably like, it's like the scenario that we're mostly in. So, but you try to minimize those risks as much as you can.
All right.
So
Clark Video would like to know, what's your average speed?
average speed. So we do wear a fly sight for the speed flying as well. I think I recorded a speed of 100 kilometers per hour. Barrel rolling, you're building up. So when you go upside down and you do like a circle on your same axis, barrel rolling, you can reach even higher speeds. And the most skilled pilots can go even faster than that. It depends on the pilot. My personal speed has been, I think it was a little over 100 kilometers per hour.
Was
Yes.
that like 220 miles an hour?
Sorry, in the miles per hour would be, let me think about it, maybe at 85 miles per hour.
85?
90 miles, something like that. Maybe a little more.
Oh, I thought it was less.
Of course, the more, depending on the weather conditions of that day, do you have a clean air? Do you have wind? Do you have a headwind? Do you have how skilled are you? How small is your wing? You can reach speeds more than that, way more than that. So I would say easy 100 miles per hour, not a problem. Even more than that.
Yeah, Travis DuPont and I looked it up. It's 62 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that sounds about right. Yeah.
All right. Tony Marzano from Las Vegas is asking, what's the best place you've base jumped? And also he had asked if you jumped in Dubai ever.
Okay, so best place I've jumped is my very dear place, Monte Brento. It's in northern Italy. That's where I learned how to base jump. It's a very special spot for me because I actually lived there nearby, and I made a lot of jumps out of that place. I love the mountains. You can see Lake Garda. You can see just the pre-Alps, part of the Alps. And you can jump almost all year long. All my friends are there. So for me, in terms of scenery and emotional attachment, the Mount Brento is the best place I've jumped. And I've jumped also during the night, so with the full moon, that's also very beautiful. It's very special jumps, and you can see all the nice Lake Garda. I love that place. And to answer the other question of of Dubai, no, I never jumped in Dubai, but I'm planning to in the future.
Okay. Krista, your turn.
All right. I know there's a question up there. Can't see it, but what do your parents think of you flying or jumping out of planes now?
Oh my gosh. So I think they learn how to accept this part of me because this is me, and I've been very clear with them. I'm an adult. I built my own life. I do respect my parents. I do respect my family. But at this point, they are understanding a little bit this part of me. They not necessarily want to know my weekly activities. For example, the wingsuiting or the skydiving or the speed flying. They kind of don't want to know, but they are curious. So sometimes I do send them videos, and my brother's actually he's very supportive and he shares videos, and so he's they can understand a little bit of what's going on. They do understand the risks, of course, and as parents they're very worried, but at the same time I think they started becoming proud of what I have accomplished, and also the fact that I'm part of the communities actively. They support other women. They see that it's not just, hey, I just want to throw myself off this mountain. There's other things involved. There is friendship. There is mentorship. There is growing with each other and support, especially with the women. Also in the skydiving, I'm part of the Sisters in Skydiving program, supporting women, connecting women to one another. They're seeing all these other aspects, and also this latest project. They got very excited about it. Of course, I can't tell the details like I was saying earlier, but they got very excited. They are understanding now that the sports are growing. Women are getting more involved into these activities that were traditionally maybe more attached to men. So they're very happy. They're worried, but they're very happy. And I think seeing all these other aspects is kind of lessening their concerns rather than just being anxious all the time. They're more accepting.
All right. Deweese?
Mark McElroy says smaller is more impressive.
Krista? Krista?
Yeah.
Krista? You're supposed to read this. What's on the screen?
This must be a Shane Mark thing.
I need to change my shirt, Mark.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. Of course,
All right, serious. If you want to fly now, base jump or wingsuit or whatever, do you have to travel? Is there not any place near Houston where you can base jump or anything?
Unfortunately, for the base jumping and the speed flying, there is not much around here. There's alternatives, but that you can definitely travel. I mean, you can go to California and go in the mountains in California, in the Sierras, Central California, like Mammoth area, all that area. It's all speed flyable. You can go to Utah. You can, in California and Utah, you can base jump and speed fly. You can go, there's so many different states that you can pursue these activities. But yes, unfortunately right now for the base jumping and the speed flying, I would have to travel.
You get to do that now?
Yes, I mean, I can do it, but of course I have to coordinate with work.
Yeah.
As you can imagine, being a nurse, you're always not always you have those 3 days in a row and then 4 off. You know, sometimes you do, sometimes you try to ask, and depends on which employer you're working for. Of course, if you're a travel nurse, maybe you shouldn't ask if your staff, they're more supportive. So you do have those occasional, maybe every 2 or 3 weeks, those 4 days in a row, you can try to make the trip. And definitely in the next month or so, I'm planning to go to California to get some speed flying in. Yes.
All right. JP, I'm sure you've heard of him because he's a big TikToker, you know, and he wants to know if you heard of him.
Actually, I'm not on TikTok, and I don't use TikTok.
Shame on you.
Sorry.
One for the girls.
I've been thinking about getting on TikTok. Yes, of course. It's for me, the use of social media has been very helpful to connect with others in our sports. And I think if it's used for these kind of purposes, it's amazing. They're amazing tools, and just getting together with other girls, and and actually Jay, that's how I saw all of her activities, and I was like, whoa, this is great. If we didn't have social media, we wouldn't probably have connected, the four of
Right.
us. Maybe we would have eventually, but it would have taken a longer time.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I chased Angie Drum on here.
Uh-huh.
She was putting her little guy down, and she's a fellow skydiver, and she says she's
I
hoping
see
to
that.
make it down to Houston drop zone before too long. So that would be
Yes.
cool if you two could connect.
Absolutely. Not a problem. It will be great. And I'm jumping mostly at Spaceland Houston, which is not too far from here. Great drop zone, great people, great. It's just a great environment. A lot of women there too that you can get connected to and get the support that you need, for sure.
Right.
Yes.
Yes. So I'm also going to share some of the videos you had sent me. I hope you guys can see them because I think they're pretty amazing.
Oh my God, can't believe what I've become. I'm thinking things I shouldn't think, singing songs I've never sung. Oh my God.
Now, is that a regular paragliding or is that a speed wing?
That's a 9-meter swing Mirage. That's a speed wing.
Okay.
So as you can see, it's a little smaller than
Yeah.
the others one. In the background, you can actually see that's my fiance in the background with the 8-meter,
Oh,
which is even
geez.
smaller. Yeah, like I said, I do have an 8-meter, but I fly only in certain spots that I know very well and
Okay.
in certain conditions.
All right. So now I'm going to go to an airplane.
Huh?
If you want to explain this.
This is the wingsuiting. So this is the skydiving, in particularly in the skydiving, it's called the wingsuiting. It's a discipline within skydiving where you do have a wingsuit that basically it's a suit all over your body, and you do have it kind of mimics wings and a tail, and you fly just like a wing, and aerodynamically it's a wing. Your shoulder function as an angle of attack, and the wing where you're hitting the flow of the air. And as you can see, the person below me on his back, his wingsuit is even bigger. So in this case, the bigger suit you have, the more advanced. This is an extremely skilled wingsuiter and load organizer, just a mentor in the drop zone. And he was basically functioning is called as base. So he's setting the base and the angle, and he was trying to have me go towards him. That way I can work on the angle of attack. Because as any wing, we want the angle of attack in a certain angle to be most efficient as possible in the air. I'm sure you can see I'm like trying to go to him as much as I can, and he's setting up the pace at that point. And here we are over Houston, yes, in the
Wow.
Houston, yes. The video was taken by my fiance, who was actually on the jump, and he was filming me so that later I can see myself
Yep.
and my
Funny.
inclination and angle relative to the base, and see if I was being efficient flying or not. So if you do have a good efficient angle, you can pick up a lot of speed and you become very efficient in the air. And that
Okay.
becomes very critical also in the base jumping.
Right. Okay. Here's the next one.
So back to the speed fly.
Yeah, that was a short one.
Yes, this is the speed flying. This is in a mountainous region in Italy, in the Alps. And as you can see, you do not have to have skis. I mean, it is, of course, once you have those winter months, you may want to have skis, especially in the fresh snow. But you could launch also by foot launching in the snow. Of course, I had crampons on just to make sure I was not slipping on icy parts. But you can make like a little bit of a nice way, like kind of like a driveway by yourself, and then you can foot launch. If you're not interested in using the skis in that moment, I just didn't have my skis with me at that point.
Okay.
I just
Alright.
didn't have them at location.
Speedwing.
That's a Speedwing. That's a 9. That's my older 9. It's a different color. The one that I have right now is a red one. That's an older version of the Swing Mirage. And I'm in Soboba, California. That's where I learned how to speed fly. As you can see, I'm in close proximity with the terrain. So that's what I was talking about earlier. Sometimes you want to fly close proximity, sometimes you don't have to. The purpose for the speed flying, this picture kind of entails of what the speed flying is about, pretty much.
Yeah.
That's Switzerland, the base jumping. As you can see, the wing is folded. Well, in this case, it's a canopy. It's a parachute. It is enclosed in a container, so that you're gonna jump off. I'm wearing a two-piece track suit, which kind of helps you not fall too fast and go away from the rocks, because you want to be distanced from the rocks. Once you reach the right altitude and you open your parachute. On the bottom of my back to the right, you see there's a handle. You pull the handle. Yep, exactly. You pull the handle and it deploys your parachute once you reach the altitude that you have planned on.
Okay.
Yes. Back to speed flying.
Now, is one of those you?
No, that's my friend I was talking about earlier. And this is my fiance. I was just trying. So we did this is me though. This is me. This is my point of view.
Wow.
So I was trying to film their landings, because that day they were just having these great landings and really fast swooping, which is basically you're going as far as you can with your landing. So they're swooping, skimming to the ground during the landing. And I was trying to see. It was so beautiful. It was just we just had such a great day, great flying. It was a couple of days, and we went to visit my friend Diego in the Veneto area, and that's his mountain where he usually flies. And it's such a great spot. You have a great team there of speed flyers, paragliders, and we just had such a great day. and I just wanted to make a video edit, and was just having fun, barrel rolling, and then we actually base jumped. We were able to wingsuit base jump off of a paraglider in that mountain that day.
Wow. All right. You should be doing that in a pool.
I know, right? Actually, you train first in a pool. That's actually how you want to do it. You train the pool first. That's back to the base jumping, and that's Mount Brento, one of my favorite spots, as I mentioned before. As you can see, you have about 3,000, 4,000 feet of drop, and you have I would say about a 10-second delay, maybe no, actually about an 8-second delay there, where you can perform this. It's called aerial skills. So it's somersaults and gainers. There's different exits you can do, and modalities and combos of the different maneuvers, and that's the Mount Brent I was talking about, and my favorite place. And here I'm performing a 4. I was trying to do a 4 times somersault. Yeah.
1, 2.
I don't know if I ever
3,
4.
4. Yeah, you did it.
Yeah, I was trying. So you obviously don't start overnight with this, especially because you're falling faster and you're very close to the mountain. So normally with a wingsuit or a different techniques, you can get away from the mountain. That's your whole goal. Want to open to deploy the parachute in a safer way. But these ones, you're very close to the mountain, you're falling faster, and it requires you to have a good proprioception of your body, and you just don't do it overnight. Of course, get with a mentor. I have a mentor, my base coach, Maurizio, and then I ask him question, and I start with one. You start with one plane. Start with one. Of course, you start first from the beginning, normal exit, just with your arms out. And then once time goes by and you're training, you can put one of these, then you can add 2, you can add 3, and there's different combos that you can do.
Wow.
And a lot of stretching.
No kidding.
You have to
All right.
stretch.
What do we got here? Same thing, it looks like.
Here, yes. Actually, here I didn't do as many. So I'm trying to get away from the mountain, and at the last portion, I was trying to track away from the mountain.
Okay.
So the whole idea, one of the main goals in doing this is not just for fun or personal goals or whatever. It's you have to do these in a proper position in the axis, because if you don't, you get unstable and then you have other problems. And you want to work on the aesthetics of it as well, not just to throw yourself off the mountain. So
how much of a jolt do you get when that chute opens up and yanks you back up?
That's a great question. So in base jumping, you have bigger parachutes than skydiving, and those you could have hard openings if you don't stop enough. So let's say you did your revolutions, and then you're tracking away, you're getting a little bit of speed momentum, and you're not stopping, and you open. That's you'll feel it on your neck. It's kind of like a small maybe crash with your car. So you'll get sore. Well, that's what I'm trying to say. So you have to do the proper technique and stop. You do get, for skydiving, a little less, but even there, if you're not stopping and you're doing all of a sudden, of course there's techniques that are taught to you to how to stop and properly open the parachute and deploy the parachute. If you don't do it properly, it can give you sore muscles, and it could be dangerous as well. Yes, for sure.
All right. Angie's also asking, how much do burbles mess with those? What's that?
Burbles. Yes. So I'm not sure in which sport she's referring, but burbles is basically a dirty air. So air that has turbulence in it. Like, let's say wind can cause that. I'm sure you know, with your wing, you don't want to go over any ridges where the wind is hitting uh, consistently, and the air behind it in the leeward side becomes, I'm sorry, if you're, let's say, going over a ledge of a mountain and you have a strong headwind, that air can be dirty and turbulent. It's just like that. So burble, it's when the movement of the air that is caused by another person. Let's say you're flying your wingsuit in formation and you're really tight with each other, or even in free falling, you're not even with the wingsuit, in free falling, you're falling down and you go one on top of the other. These two bodies can burble each other, it's called. So it's basically, to answer your question, it's turbulent air caused by another object or another person. And that's very important to always keep in mind when you're performing maneuvers, especially those kind of maneuvers. Yes.
All right.
Now in the base jumping, initially, as you can see, I'm initiating that inertia, that momentum. That's dead air. You don't have a lot of burble there, even if another person is there. But once you start hitting higher velocities, higher speeds, then the other person, if somebody's near you, they can cause burble for sure. So you always have to keep that in mind, where you're flying, who you're flying with, and in which position relative to each other you're flying, for sure.
I think that's my husband's new nickname, Burble.
Burble.
Dirty air.
Burble, it can cause a lot of problems. So you always have to know where burble forms, and what it is, where it's located, in with the particular jump that you're performing. So it can cause a lot of problems. Yes.
What's that? You want to read the next one?
Yes.
Read it. Okay, question. Okay, so when you're flying a 9-meter wing, how do you make the go, no-go decision with respect to winds?
Winds much higher, yes.
Sorry,
So for the speed wing, ideally you don't want any type of winds. You don't want winds. Maybe I would say 5 to 10 miles per hour, 10 miles per hour at the most headwind. That will help you for sure on your takeoff, but you don't want higher than that. Number one, it's not safe. You're risking a frontal collapse, especially with the smaller wings. I've seen people launching in 15, 20, 30 miles per hour winds. That's definitely a no-go. And then number two, it's not fun because you may not be able to reach those that proximity, because the closer you go to the ground, the more turbulence you could have if you have those high winds. So you don't want to find yourself in a canyon trying to skim through the terrain and you're having all these 20 mile per hour wind, 50 mile per hour wind. 50 mile per hour wind, it starts getting kind of important. Ideally, those wings, to answer your questions, you could have a little bit of headwind. That's great. It'll help you on your foot launching and getting in the air. But definitely you don't want high winds. You don't want to have like a 15 mile per hour wind. It's not even fun at that point. Hey, get your paraglider out, get your paramotor out, and just enjoy your flights with the paramotor. And I'm sure you guys don't fly with the high winds either, but for us it's even more delicate. You don't want high winds, and then ultimately is your decision what you're comfortable with. There's some people, hey, they feel comfortable with the higher winds, they want to go, they never had a collapse, they never had a problems. okay. I mean, I don't recommend it. I know for myself, and then when when I find myself with other people at launch, hey guys, did you notice that the wind it's so and so? It start getting worse. Let's look at the tree. You look at the trees. You look at the environment around you now. If you're flying in California, it's a desert. You don't have a lot of other, um, point of references like trees you would have in the Alps or somewhere where there's trees or an alpine terrain or something like that. So at that point, you're looking at the sand. Hey, I'm kicking the sand. Let's see what it does. Do I see dust devils? Do I see discoloration in the air? Like maybe it's a column of sand. And that's not a good indicator. And you try to have maybe people already launched and landed. You try to connect with those people as well. Hey, what did you think of the air? How is the air in the middle? Was it bumpy? What do you think? And you try to use your resources. If you're by yourself, I don't recommend flying by yourself, but we all have done it probably. Try to look at the environment around you. Look what's around you, and it's a good idea. Bring a streamer. You have those ribbons. Bring one of those ribbons with a really small stick. Hey, that does miracles. Sometimes you're not sure. Sometimes that katabatic flow is changing into katabatic. It's the sun is going down, and you're, oh my gosh, I don't have any headwind. What do I do? Use what you got, and that you make your own decisions always. And then if you're with other people, don't be afraid to speak up and keep others safe.
So you don't use wind socks when you fly?
Yes, but most of the times we're in spots where there's no wind socks. So unfortunately, we make our own wind socks. We bring wind socks. There's portable ones. You can definitely, and I highly recommend doing. We create usually we create with the small ribbons. We create our own streamers, air streamers, but you definitely minimizes risk for sure, and you want to do that. But sometimes we're in environments where nobody has flown, nobody has the landing there. Maybe it's in a property that it's not really private, but you don't want to put a windsock there because you're not allowed to. So you use your other resources. Eventually, if you see something that is not right, you just don't feel right, just don't do it. Just don't go. That's how I call it.
Exactly. We got one last question, it looks like. Luis?
Yeah, Paul Marzano wants to know if the swoops were done with a base canopy.
I'm sorry, say it again. The swooping with the base canopy?
Yeah, in the video.
Base canopy.
Okay, swooping with the base canopy. So some people are able to do it. I am not able to do it. Those are very large canopies. They are more similar to kind of like a paraglider with a little bit of delayed response. They're not very intuitive like a high performance skydiving canopy or a speedwing. They're very intuitive. You think about it and it does, right? That particular canopy for base jumping, and there's different canopies within the base jumping. Different models do different things, and for different environments and for different type of jumps. But in general, those canopies are not made for swooping. Some very skilled people who I know, they know how to do it briefly. You won't get a lot of distance because that's not what they're made for, and then they're not designed for that. But you could do it a little bit, yes.
All right. Everybody's saying fantastic show. She's willing to stick around and bring her fiance Phil. Say his name again.
Yes, Phil. He was supposed to be
No,
here.
say his name.
Phil.
No.
Filippo.
Yeah.
Filippo.
I like that name better.
To make it fast, to make it easier, we just say Phil and Priscilla or Pri. So I know our names are a little bit different, so to make it faster and simpler for everyone.
Oh, so are you found on social media anywhere? I know Facebook.
Yes. So in Instagram, I'm lifeguard P. I was a lifeguard, open water lifeguard for a long time. I do enjoy that part of myself as well, and that element, the water, not only the air. So lifeguard P, all one word. And you can find me easily. I'm very happy if you find me and ask me question, any type of question, not a problem. And on Facebook, I'm Priscilla Ant. We talked about that. It's not my real last name, but it'll do for now. Thank you.
I like it. All right. Deweese, how about you? You starting your flying soon, and so we can get you on some videos again?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to be up there by April.
Okay.
Yeah. YouTube, Luis Milstead. Instagram, WheezyRN. TikTok, WheezyRN. I can't think of anything else. My brain's
Sounds
fried.
like about. Yep. And Krista.
Great.
Here on Wednesday nights.
All right.
That's great.
You can find me at Jade Lear on Facebook. If you are a female that wants to share your story on this show, by all means, reach out to one of us. I'm also on Instagram occasionally under Flying Flamingo Jade, I believe, and TikTok Flying Flamingo 12 maybe, or Flamingo Jade. Check them out. And we thank you so much, Priscilla, for taking the time. You have been such a joy to be able to talk to this past week, back and forth. And it was so wonderful to connect with you.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to connect with more women and knowing that more women are in the extreme sports. And thank you. Please stay in touch and contact me anytime. Thank you.
Yeah, and if anybody wants to join in, Eric, I believe, put the link in the chat. So we'll see you shortly.
Okay.
Have a good night and fly safe, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone, for joining the show. And we'll see you soon. Thank you.
What
Thanks,
do you
everybody.
say? What do you say in
Ciao.
Italian?
Ciao. Ciao a tutti.
Ciao.